Yes. Yes.
I know you have a Zoom meeting. Can we?
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see everyone in person and also online. Welcome to the, what did today say, July 23rd, 2026. Oh, it's up there. Landmarks Commission meeting. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio Open Meeting Law and Section 101.21 of the Codified Ordinance of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings based on Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by roll call vote. Recusal from any case due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the beginning of the presentation. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, virtual attendees will use the raised hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raised hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile versions and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking the raised hand icon again and muting your microphone. All meeting activities are being recorded via WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. The channels for comments provided in writing are sending an email to landmark@clevelandohio.gov email address with a comment or a letter, calling or leaving a message at 216-664-2532, or sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall located at 601 Lakeside Avenue, Suite 519. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the stated deadline are collected by Landmark staff and disseminated to the commission members prior to a scheduled meeting. This meeting of the Cleveland Landmarks Commission is a lawful meeting. Under Section 605.04 of the Codified Ordinance, no person with a purpose to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting shall do any act which obstructs or interferes with the due conduct of such meeting. Violators may be removed or prosecuted under CCO 605.04. Members of the public may provide public comments if required by law. In accordance with our rules and something at the discretion or sometimes at the discretion of the chair. Disruptions include, but are not limited to, speaking out of turn or making loud utterances that interfere with the due conduct of this lawful meeting may constitute a misdemeanor and a violation of Section 605.04. If this meeting is substantially disrupted, I will call for a recess and the room will be cleared. Persons who violate the city ordinance and commit misdemeanors may be subject to prosecution. When this body is able to return from recess, then in compliance with Ohio Open Meeting Act, if applicable, and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances, the meeting will be open to the public again. Mr. Runges?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll go over our meeting rules and procedures. The chair will call each agenda item, and then each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation has concluded, the chair will ask for any public comment, and Landmark staff will summarize any written public comment received prior to noon the Tuesday before any regularly scheduled Landmarks Commission meeting, which has been provided to the commission members in advance of the meeting. Any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item in which they have an interest. The chair will then ask Landmark staff to summarize Design Review Advisory Committee recommendations and provide a staff report and any recommendations. The commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any commission member except the chair may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called.
Great. Thank you for reviewing those. We will now call the July 23rd, 2026 Landmark Commission meeting to order. Mr. Brunges, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Dulick? Here. Councilmember Gray? Mr. Lozier?
Here.
Director Mersman?
Here.
Sabin? Mr. Sandberry?
Here.
Mr. Strickland? Mr. Trassick?
Here.
Dr. Williams?
Here.
Ms. Trott?
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Excellent. We will now move on to our certificates of appropriateness. We'd like to welcome the first applicant to come forward and tell us about your project. The first applicant is Lincoln Park Academy, located at 3185 West 41st Street, electronic messaging signage. Yes, please. And if you don't mind, just hitting the button to green on your microphone so that we have you. Thank you.
You can click test.
Okay, thank you. Sip of water.
Take your time.
Okay, so good morning. Thank you
morning.
for your time. Our company, Fast Signs, based out of Canton, have been working with Lincoln Park Academy for 2 years on this project. It started off with a treatment of all the windows in their school being branded. And while that project was under process, the rules changed. And the amount of window space that can be used for perforation and content was reduced down to 25%. And we had originally spoken with the Academy about doing all of their windows. So the nature of the project changed midstream, and the school had an agenda to reach out and communicate in a different way with parents dropping children off, trying to communicate in a better fashion with students, and the idea of putting an EMC or an electronic message center was introduced into the mix. It was introduced at a late stage, and my predecessor, who was managing the project, put together some drawings a little bit hastily, if I may add, for an initial meeting with the city and with the commission here. Unfortunately, if I can.
It might have a delay.
Yeah. There's a dramatic pause. You just have to give it a second.
Okay.
And if not, we can move it forward for you.
Perfect. There you go.
Okay, I don't know what's happened there.
If it's not advancing, Rachel can advance for you.
The second page, we can move on to the second page. There we go. That represents what actually happened on the left. First of all, because of the urgency and deadlines, my predecessor produced this visual on the left, which was not to scale. It looks enormous given the environment it sits in. It would not have been something I proposed. But if you had scaled it back to a correct scaling, it would have looked better, but it just, it was the straw that broke the camel's back for everybody, I think. And nobody was happy with it, particularly the commission. So I became involved. I'm with the company approximately a year. I came up to site and I used some scaling methods. And I came up with a proposal on the right, which the EMC part of it is still the same size, but all the superfluous stuff around the edge has either been taken away or reduced. The top permanent ID for Lincoln Academy was reduced in size. In listening or reading to comments from previous meetings about the brightness, we scaled back the color saturation on the top sign, the permanent sign, so it wouldn't be as intrusive. Unfortunately, the school's colors are not the most pleasing to everybody. Having said that, they are their colors. That can't be changed at this stage. So in an effort to try and meet in the middle and reach an accommodation, we reduced the saturation in the color so that when it backlights, it's not going to be as intrusive as the one on the left-hand side. The sign was lowered and then the whole proposal was scaled properly. I was on site. I buried 3-foot uprights into the ground and then scaled the drawing into that, pasted the actual design into that with a scale match. So that is as it would look. Can we move on? There were some comments when I presented that to the commission, the previous meeting, and there was concern about the actual environment and it matching. So I mean, I came up with the suggestion, or we discussed the idea of using the same material that the school was built from, the red brick. And we built the surround out of red brick as opposed to metal to make it more sympathetic with the environment. And that seemed to be an issue which people were happy with. And then, as I mentioned, we toned down the actual size. The physical size, as it should be, is much smaller than the first design, and the colors have been toned down. That is what we came up with, and was presented. There were some issues around the permitting process where there should be landscaping. This recommended something like this is sat within or situated within landscaping, so we've brought that into place. We're using a matching brick, or we're going to try as close as we can to find a matching brick to the building. And that was what we proposed. There you go. In the discussion on that, it was the final issue really that some people had concerns with was the fact that it was L-shaped and facing. Obviously, it's at a corner junction, so it's facing across 41st and the adjoining street. Directly across from it on 41st, there are some businesses, whereas on the other side, it is domestic. So we came up with the idea of taking off one leg of the L, facing it across the road towards the businesses, but giving it a 30-degree angle to give influence more to the businesses rather than impact the actual neighborhood view of it. So I think we have an overhead view there where we can see it points kitty corner across the junction. Neighbors are down below, businesses are across to the left. And that was what we came up with in terms of our positioning, how it might interfere with other people's comfort zone, toning it all down, as I say, in color and degree of light. And that's what we came up with. That is to show its sort of scale relative to the monster that was initially proposed. It is now down to one single face, pointing towards the business across the street, and is not as intrusive. And that really is it. I know, just in one final thing, there is some people just have a natural objection to backlit signage or illuminated signage like that. And I get that, particularly in a neighborhood. However, there is an automatic setting on the machine that will allow you to set the level of illumination. And so it can be brought down. I know the school were even willing to consider in the evening time, they offered at the last meeting to actually have it turned off at night time. So you're only competing in daylight. It's not Las Vegas. It's a platform to communicate with parents about updating them on what's happening in the school. Nobody's trying to have 25 different colors zooming around the screen. It's text, it's information, it's a communication platform, and that's it. I think myself personally, looking all the time to avail of opportunities to get my message across, that if they did keep it on in the evening time, they might even be willing to speak to some of the neighborhood groups and put some information about their activities in it, so that if there are First Fridays or whatever event is being run by the community, that they will give them access to the screens in the evening. They're most anxious to work with the community, but they do have a requirement to try and communicate better with parents.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Before we get on to our feedback, we will then open up the floor for public comments. Is there anyone in attendance to speak on behalf or for or against this proposal? All right, with that, then we will move on to the local design review advisory committee recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this was presented to the Greater Cuyahoga Valley Historic District Advisory Committee on July 7th. Overall, they recommended approval and an issuance of a certificate of appropriateness, as long as the brick color is finalized with staff, because there was a lot of discussion about trying to complement the adjacent historic building. There was also discussion about the orientation of the sign. And again, it's shown in this presentation, it being rotated to 30 degrees, which the committee was in approval of as well. There was also discussion about the illumination schedule and trying to finalize that before the sign is potentially approved by this body as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then we will, I'm sorry, before we do that, landmark staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Recommendations.
The applicants, thank you for the comprehensive presentation showing what has happened over time, and you have worked and taken into the agreement with all that stuff. So that is greatly appreciated. And staff agrees with the conclusions of the committee. The window signage has been installed. It did not need a variance, so this is not part of that presentation. You mentioned that as part of that. Staff recommends the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness, but there's potential, we don't know if there's a variance needed. Is this within proper sub? But if we do, we can grant the 350. This will still need to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals because for an illuminated messaging center in a residential district. So it would need support for that at BZA. Submission of the scheduled hours of operation, whatever that plan is, meeting the sign code, like no animations. If it's just straight text, that's great and stuff like that.
Well, just sorry, I beg your pardon. Sorry, go ahead.
We'll give you a sec, yeah. Submission of the final brick colors compatible with the school, as mentioned, submission of a final landscape plan. And then once this messaging center is installed, that any exterior banners or extra signage that is currently on the school should be coming off.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then we'll open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. Who would like to start us off? Mr. Sandberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to thank you. I think the presentation was awesome, showing all the stages, like Carl said. It was really helpful to see where you started and where we ended up on what's being presented.
Thank you.
I have no objection to anything. I drive past this all the time. Yeah, I think it'll be fine for that area.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sandberg. Other questions and comments? Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would echo my fellow commissioners' comments about the efforts that you went through, and it's very helpful for us to see those iterations. It saves us a lot of questions, but so to your team, I think that was well done. A couple of minor things. I think that there's an opportunity to find some more cues from the building. I think it looks a little it's just the brick. I think when you look at the building, there's actually like a stone or lighter colored water table and perhaps lighter colored caps. I think if it had just those layers, it would really feel more connected to the building. So I think that would help the sign a lot. The other thought is, I know that it's an electronic sign you can program however you want. The thought that your messages being lighter on a darker background might actually not only be more readable, it would project less light, at least for the message board. It's just some consideration of a lot of message boards I've seen. So otherwise, I think it's good. Thank you.
May I reply?
Yes.
Thank you. Two things. One about the earlier point of animation. Animation is a very broad word with broad meaning. Animation, insofar as you might have text on the screen and it moves off and the next one comes on, that is animation as well. I think just to clarify, so nobody gets their knuckles wrapped down the road a bit, in terms of animation in this context, I understand it to be lots of exploding images and multiple colors of lights flashing, and but just how you change the information from one slide to another is animation. So that may vary, but it's not going to be. That's one thing. Secondly, to your points, changing the caps on the pillars, absolutely fine. Anything that enhances it or introduce. I think there's some limestone in around the building. We can introduce that in the final spec drawing that we need to submit to planning, to the permitting people. And you made another point. Yeah, the school would like to work with the neighborhood, and I don't know what structure that would take. And there's no point in sort of committing to just promises that can't be followed through. But I believe they offered to turn it off in the evening. I think that would be a waste for community resource. So, you know, I'm sure they're going to have to put in place not so much a regular meeting, but a contact forum between the community groups and the school. So that if anybody has a problem, that their door is always open. And they're quite emphatic about this. Like they're not looking to run Disney cartoons. You know, if people have issues with how some of the content is formatted, they will look at that.
So I think that's a great transition into, I think, just being clear of the operation agreement that will be required for approval. You know, that clearly does state the times of operation. You know, will it be on until 10 o'clock and off between 10 and 6 a.m.? So I think as Mr. Brunges mentioned, I think in the design review committee meeting, having that operation agreement that lists the times of operation, the percentage of saturation at the times when it does change, the minimum time changes, so how frequently it would change, you know, will it be up there at least 60 seconds and so forth? And you don't have to respond for us right now, but all of this should be in the letter that provides that operations agreement, and then also the types of information and animation that will be on the screen. So I think it's helpful to hear it here, and I think those are the things that the community and we are interested in. But having that clearly stated in an agreement that can be part of the record of approval, it will be one of the requirements.
And what is the structure of doing that? Will you write to us asking us to
If you-
formally state that, or?
Yeah, BZA is going to require something like that anyway
Right,
so I think if you would contact our zoning staff, they would
Yep.
probably be able to give you the best, what wording you'd be using. And
Okay.
I think they're going to be your best resource here, are zoning and technology
okay.
folks.
Okay. All right, but overall, I would be in agreement. I appreciate, the progression through the development and the design, I think is works well with the existing building and the neighborhood. So I'm
Thank
in
you.
full support of it. So hearing fairly on alignment across the commission, would someone like to make a motion?
Madam Chair, Mr. Tarasik had a comment online, just so you know.
Sorry, Ms. Trosick. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Madam Chair. I just want to make a quick comment. Not only do I think it's a handsome sign, but I want to make a note that I think it's terrific that the applicant is willing to work so hard in such conjunction with the community to be a great partner and a great member of the community. We don't often see that when it comes to signage, as well as taking that into consideration and really being a part of the community. So I want to commend the applicant for that and for them willing to do that and take great steps towards that.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Trosick.
Thank you.
Would someone like to make a motion then? Hearing additional support?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve as presented with the recommendation that the capstones match the existing building, and a letter of operation is presented to staff or to BZA.
Mr. Brunges to staff? Both.
Both, yes. They'll probably have to be submitted as a part of the permit.
And the guidance or approval of support of BZA variances.
And I suggest a few more. Brick submitted to staff for final approval, and then final landscape plans submitted along with the removal of any extra signage removed once the monument sign is in place. All right, so we have a motion with some conditions.
Sorry if I can.
1 second, let us just finish our
Yeah,
process
sorry.
and then we'll open the floor back up. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Further discussion? Yes, you're.
The approval of the color of the red brick, is that the function of the permitting department or the land commission?
Correct.
Okay. No, I beg-
So once you've identified the manufacturer and color, get in contact with staff and they can contact you offline to talk
Okay.
more details.
Super, thank you.
All right. So any further discussion? Julie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to suggest to the, who made the motion, that we include a recommendation for the lighter colored base as well. And as always, final details and proportions to be approved by landmark staff.
Great.
Is that acceptable?
Mr. Sandberg, do you agree? Mr. Lozier? All right, that's an additional condition. Any further discussion? All right, Mr. Runges, please call roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray,
I'm staying because I got here late.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Mr. Sandberry,
Yes.
Mr. Tarasik,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Chair, the motion passes with one abstention.
All right, excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you
We
very
look forward
much.
to seeing your project move forward.
Thank you. Thank you all.
We'll then move on to our next applicant located at 1812 West 58th Street, window replacement. Is there anyone present to speak on behalf of the window replacement located at 1812 West 58th Street? All right, we will move them to the end of the agenda and continue moving forward. We'll now move on to the third applicant, the Syrian Cultural Gardens located at 1191 Martin Luther King Drive, bust and fountain replacement.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time and diligence. A few months ago, we submitted our restoration project to the commission in regard to the major structure, the arch structure, and changing the pavers on the main floor, and this was approved. So today I'm following up on the restoration elements in the Syrian garden in regard to the additional placement of a bust, bronze bust in the garden. And so I will be presenting, the few elements that we're interested in at this point. This is the location of the Syrian garden on Martin Luther King and East Boulevard. We have access to both streets. Lot 29. Next slide, please. This is a schematic graph of the original design of the garden, and it shows the location of the existing bust that we have, the bronze bust. On the right-hand side, it says current bust, as you can see. It's for a famous legendary Syrian poet, Nizar Qabbani. This was installed in 2015. And the proposed site of the new one on the left-hand side, back to the slide, please. On the left-hand side, this is the approximate location. I propose that it's going to be between the two stands, the two black stands here. We sent a updated version of the slides. This seems the older version, but the location is going to be a mirror image of the existing landing and placement for the existing bust. So it will be in between the two stands on the left-hand side. Next, please. This is the landing that we have on the right-hand side. It's a short path and a circular landing, and the bust on top of a base. So we're going to duplicate this structure on the opposite side. Next, please. This is a picture of the pavers, the concrete pavers that are made by Unilock. And this was the same pattern and the same quality pavers that was approved for the main floor, the entire main floor of the Syrian garden. We had problems in the past because of using sandstone, and the sandstone did not hold in the weather in Cleveland and the elements. So that's why we're doing this major restoration overhaul to the whole garden. So the path will be made, the path and the landing will be made using this kind of stone. It's 2-inch heavy duty unilock concrete pavers. Next, please. This is the new bust, bronze bust of Zenobia that will be placed on the opposite side. The whole theme in the Syrian garden is the Palmyra, the arches of Palmyra, which is an outpost in the middle of Syria with major artifacts in culture and elements of architecture, columns and big amphitheater still existing and so forth. So this is the bronze bust of Queen Zenobia. This her reign was 1800 years ago, almost 2000 years ago. So we're celebrating somebody from the past with bright achievements at that time. Next, please. The dimensions of the bronze bust is 32 inches in height, 20 inches in width, and 13 inches in depth. So it's very similar, as you can see, compared to the original poet bronze bust. Next. This is the existing stand, talking about the stand now, the base for the bust. We used at that time sandstone, and as you can see, the staining on the sandstone, it's like a sponge. It gets dirty and you can't clean it. So we're going to duplicate this, but in concrete made by Pompili company, concrete company, with same dimensions. The only difference, and you can see in the graph, next slide, the corners will be rounded. The corners of the base will be rounded, and that will give additional visual interesting addition to the stand. The stand will be placed on top of a 3-foot footer, a concrete footer, and the dimensions are very similar to the existing one, about 3 feet height and 2.5 width. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. The third element we're looking for in the existing garden, on one of the sides around the circle that we have, it's a circular structure, the garden is, we have this low-key stand that we engraved the donors' names at that time when we started the garden in 2011. And it's a full granite piece, all granite. It's not covered granite. And due to the campaign of restoration that's very costly to the community, we had a lot of donors that allow us to reach the, meeting the cost of the restoration, which will be at least around $170,000. So we're proposing a duplicate structure to this one that will have engraved names of donors for this phase of the restoration. This is a low-key stone. It's slanted. It goes from 22 inches height in the back and 18 inches in the front. So it's easy to read the names, and it's been, very stable in our garden. So we're asking for duplication of this that will be placed around the circle, closer to the theater. Next, please. This is how it looks from the back. You know, you see the difference in slanted surface. Next, please. The third element is we have a fountain, and it's been fine, you know, in terms of water supply and drainage. But the panels that we use at that time are not holding again because of the weather. And we're working with Milano Monuments to replace these panels that you see here on the side. So this will be just on the surface of the fountain's original structure, replacing these pavers or panels of you know, in different color by granite material. So it will be lasting into the future as well. As you can see the background, and you saw this background when we applied for the restoration of all the pavers on the floor, you see how bad it is at this point. And the same with the little remnant of the arches. So these are our requests. The landing, the base, we saw the picture of the bust itself, and the fountain, redressing of the fountain. I'll be glad to answer any question.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you for the presentation. Before we get it on to our feedback, we're going to open up the floor for any public comment. Is there anyone present to speak on behalf or against the project? All right, not seeing any, then we will move on to the design review. I'm sorry, we will move on to the Cleveland Cultural Garden Federation Design Review Committee recommendations.
Yes, thank you. I'm Tom Turkley, Executive Director at the Gardens. This project was reviewed by our Design and Preservation Committee on July 10th. It gave it unanimous approval, followed by an electronic vote by our Executive Board, who again approved this project. The committee felt that this was a great addition to the garden with the new bust. It adds symmetry and balance to their layout, two busts on both sides, and using similar materials for the base, and the duplication of an already existing the donor recognition plaque will add symmetry as well, and the necessary work to the fountain that is obviously needed with the material deteriorating already. So the committee and the board enthusiastically supports this project.
Excellent, thank you. Then we'll move on to landmark staff recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This proposal, the garden has come to us piecemeal over a couple of months. So I think this would have benefited as one comprehensive plan at one time, because I think seeing it all together. Should note that the Zenobia bust as itself has already been approved by the Landmarks Commission in the past. So we're really looking at the base because that had not been discussed. So how is it being attached and all that kind of stuff. The proposal is consistent with the previous submittals, and the inclusion of the final site plan was helpful to understand where everything is. And staff would recommend the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll open up the floor of the commission for questions and comments. Who'd like to start us off? I'll start us off. Yeah, I would say I appreciate the thoughtfulness of the entire design. You know, seeing it evolve over the last few years is you've consistently brought forward quality materials and a thoughtful, comprehensive design. So although I would have liked to see it all together at the beginning to understand it, we followed along despite that. So overall, I am in support of the project as presented. Other questions and comments from the commission? Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would echo Madam Chair's sentiments and just add, thank you for your exemplary stewardship of this garden. I think a lot of the gardens really do their best to take care and maintain their gardens because they are such a significant literal piece of Cleveland's cultural landscape. So, commendation to everyone involved in the Syrian Garden as just being, I think, exemplary in terms of your efforts. And thank you for presenting to our body.
Commissioner Dulick? Other questions and comments? Ms. Anderson?
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo what my fellow commissioners just said. I appreciate the continued improvements and maintenance of the garden. I have a question regarding the fountain. The fountain itself, has the granite applied to it, which I think looks lovely. A few months ago, we saw a case in Tremont's Lincoln Park where they had a stone wall and the tiles that were applied to it were falling off because the wall itself was absorbing moisture from the ground. And I'm wondering if that might be the issue that's creating the delamination of the granite here.
May I answer?
Yes, please proceed.
The current panels of the fountains are not granite. They're composite stone, apparently. And it wasn't the best choice that was made 15 years ago. So structurally, we don't have damage, any signs of damage or any leakage. It's been running smoothly, and we keep the fountain running actually throughout the summertime. The water is flowing continuously with no problem. It's just the quality of the panels. The stone was used was poor, and it ended up deteriorating, like you see. So this will be veneer dressing over the original structure.
Okay, thank you. I realize there's a cost consideration, but it might hold up better if the actual granite was used. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Any other questions and comments from the commission? Hearing fairly consistent support for the project, would someone like to make a motion?
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve as presented.
Right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Dulick?
I will second.
Great, thank you, Mr. Dulick. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Mr. Brunches, please call roll. Sorry, just have it.
I know it's been a while. Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Mr. Sandberry,
Yes.
Mr. Trosik,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Trott.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion carries unanimously.
Excellent. Congratulations and good luck with your project.
Thank you very much. I want to add a major thank you from our community to the commission. This wasn't a simple tasking to ask for donation few years from the original build-out, but the community rallied around the project and in full support, and sorry for the delayed, or partition presentation, because we want to make sure we have enough funds to do the whole project in totality. So again, thank you for your time.
We appreciate your persistence.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
We'll now move on to our next applicant, the Korean, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Okay, yep. The Korean Cultural Garden, located at 710 Martin Luther King Driveway, Phase 1 pedestal. Good morning.
took my sample to do a fundraiser today, so I'm left with just bricks.
Would you mind turning on your mic before you start? Just hit the button to go green. Perfect. Thank you.
And you should be able to control that. Button on the right. Okay, do that. Okay. Never mind then. Just let her know.
I appreciate it, actually. I have a tremor, and if I click that, I might just go right through the whole thing. I'd like to remind the committee that I am hard of hearing, so if I'm looking down and you're speaking, I probably don't know that you're speaking, so bear with me.
Thank you.
And I do read lips, so my name's Jim Harris. I'm representing the Korean Cultural Garden today. And I'd like to start off with the 4 items that are different from the last presentation, which I believe was in March. And the first one is our fundraising is now over $400,000 with a fundraiser coming up in the next week or two. So we are hoping to raise very close to the full cost of the $600,000 of the entire garden to do it all in one fell swoop. The first phase is coming more into focus now, and that's the first thing I would like to, my first point. We now know that the statue of King Sejong, which is about 5 tons granite, which is being carved or sculpted in Korea right now, is going to sit on a cement steel rebar and reinforced base. That's the first thing that's now clarified. We did not know what the base was going to be when we did the first presentation, but the engineer has given us specifications, which I had provided. They're not too particularly exciting, but that's what we're going to do. And what we are going to do was, once the cement is done, we are going to use Prestige Stone Products White Old Country Ledge, which is what this material is, to do a finish on the concrete base so that you're not looking at just cement. And so that's the first item that's different. The second item. The third item are the columns that we're going to put the plaques on are still going to be a PVC type core, but we are going to again use the Prestige to cover the core of the columns, which will be set in cement. And the plaques of the 8 individuals will be at approximately a 5'4" height. So the columns are approximately 10 inches wide with the plaque to be applied on both, one plaque on each side. That's the second. Or I'm sorry, that's the third item. And then the fourth item, which I did say that we would have when I got here, and unfortunately I'm not going to be able to deliver, we're going to have to go back. If we could scroll through to the picture of the, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. I'm looking for the, keep going. Oh, maybe we don't have one up there. There's a frame at the front of the garden, which I have one of the brochures, and I have several more if you'd like them. There's a frame, a door frame, that is typically in a king's home or a king's garden. And we've been looking for suitable materials to do that. In Korea, they're usually built out of a specific type of wood, but because of our climate here, that's not a good choice. So we've been looking for something to use in material wise, and we haven't found it yet. The best recommendation we have is a wood core with some type of plastic or laminate on the outside. And we're not certain that that's going to stand up. So that item I'm going to have to bring back to both the cultural garden and this committee at a later date, rather than submit something that we don't think is going to be a good long-term item. But the rest of the items stayed the same. I can go back through the original presentation if you want, but these are the only items that have changed. We have had one other item. When I was here before, this committee, and then on a resubmission to the Cleveland Cultural Garden, have suggested some modifications in the plants. We're looking at that. The concern from the Cultural Garden was the Rose of Sharon, which is the Korean flower, is a little bit aggressive in its, but they planted them there about 10 or 15 years ago, so they're already there. We were going to plant more, and the suggestion has been made that maybe we leave just what's there, or remove those and just put that same number there. And there was one other suggestion that this committee made. We're still looking at that plant, but other than that, everything else is remaining the same. So I can go through the whole thing or let you ask questions, whatever you prefer.
I think you've done a fairly good job, in my opinion, explaining what was the revisions or changes from what we originally presented, and we did receive it prior. So is there any need to go through it? Okay, then if not, then we can then move on to public comment related to the project. Is there anyone present to speak on behalf or for or against the project? Okay, not seeing anyone, then we will move on to the the Cleveland Cultural Garden Federation's Design Review Committee recommendations. Mr. Turkey, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yes. This project was reviewed by our Design and Preservation Committee on June 26th and approved to go to our executive board, which electronically approved it. This we saw is, they were going for phase one approval for their immediate needs of the installation of their monument to their king. So this approval phase was for that part of the project, knowing that the logistics of it, being that it's such a large installation needing large equipment, that needs to go in first with the footer and then the pedestal and then the statue, allowing for that to happen sooner than the rest of the construction. So we approved that part of the project. And we think, it's part of their overall design of the garden. And we just felt that it was appropriate to get this initial part of the construction going so that the rest of the project can then follow smoothly afterwards.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to make sure. Do you want us to come back after the installation of the king's base and the king and the core of the columns? That's sort of the first thing that has to be done. Do you want us to come back, or are we okay to continue construction once that's done?
Tom, would you like to respond?
From my understanding, they would need to come back because the initial approval was, I believe, schematic in March. So I believe that's where they stand. So that's my feeling, that they would need to come back for their final approvals.
Correct. Yeah, and since I've been at both of the meetings and listened to yeah, we specifically carved out the base, as we said. It needs to come back for phase two, which is, now, if you're gonna make it a one giant phase where everything is going in, that's one thing, but it still needs to be reviewed because there's a lot of questions about materials. What are your tiles going to be? What's your drainage going to be? Because you are in that flood zone right there. And then final materials and all the final stuff needs to be submitted during that phase. You can break it into as many phases as you want. If you decide you're not going to put the wall or the door in immediately and that's going to take longer, then that can be a third phase, but there certainly needs to go back through for final approval for a second phase of the rest of the plaza.
Okay, I've already submitted all that, so it's not gonna change, but I can come back again.
Yeah, I would do, this is more time dependent, I think. I mean, we still have more questions on this too, and once we go through phase one, we can offline map out some more stuff between Tom and staff with you as well and say, here's what you're gonna, because you're probably gonna need a separate permit application, or you're going through the permit application process right now. So you're getting your blanket permit, and then there's going to be the additional permits under that. So each one's going to have a different thing, but that's something we can discuss offline as well.
Okay, so we do phase one, we put the base in, and we need to put the base of the columns in at the
Yes,
same time.
that's
So
part of
that's
phase
all
one.
the Cement.
Yep.
And then at that point, bring the back to the cultural garden.
Yes.
Got it, okay.
Okay, all right. Then, let's move on to, landmark staff recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Already mentioned that this was reviewed in March of 2026, an ambitious plan moving forward. Great that you're getting all the funding. Some of the questions that we had about the materials of the base and how it was being faced were answered here. It kind of, the site plan kind of makes it look like it's tiered, but it's going to be one single plane. Okay, and then you got your footers, and then is there concrete in between the base but then what's your drainage from around this? What does the statue look like? I don't think we've ever seen. Is it in there?
We could.
How much does it weigh, and what's the material? Sorry.
It's 5 tons.
Okay.
Approximately, out of granite. Now, the artist who's sculpting this told us last week that perhaps he might change the hand or the book a little bit based on, apparently, I am not an artist. Apparently stone has its own consistency. So as he carves, the book might be up a little more or down a little bit. The hand might be up or down a little bit, depending on the consistency of the granite. So, but that's essentially what it's going to look like.
So I would recommend that you also speak with Building and Housing Department about street obstructions, because you're going to need street obstruction for the installation of this. You may want to talk to them about the weight and your floodplain requirements. Start doing that now just to make sure that you have everything in place. So when it is ready to come over, you have a smooth transition. You have all your permits that you are needed. There's other departments besides us that will have to review this as well. And we can talk with that.
I'm sorry, the department name again, please?
Building and Housing.
Building and Housing.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Then we will open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. Who'd like to start us off? All right, I will start us off. I think it's nice to see how quickly you have returned from your schematic design presentation and starting to move this forward. It's very exciting. I think I'm still aligned with the design of phase one of what we're seeing today. I think the only question I have, hold on one second. No, I think you answered the questions through what you just responded to Carl about just the material, just reiterating that. But overall, I think I'm in support of the phase one, which is the installation of the bases for the main statue, the pedestal or the column bases, as you mentioned, and then the installation of the statue itself. So I'm in support of all of those. And look forward to seeing you return, hopefully in the near future, to see phase 2, which would be the remaining project. Other questions and comments from the commission? No? Not seeing any questions from the commission. Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve phase 1 of the garden as presented, with the anticipation of separate approval for phase 2.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Mr. Lozier, thank you. Any further discussion? All right, not seeing any. Mr. Brunges, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Duke,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Director Mersman, Mr. Sandberry,
Yes.
Mr. Trosik,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. So congratulations. We look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing you return back here in the near future for your phase 2.
I'll be back.
All right, thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. I
Have a
appreciate
great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
We'll now move on to our next applicant, located at 1947 West 25th Street, roof deck.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe we have Sam as well. I see him. I don't hear him though. Sam, I didn't hear you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to take a look at this with us.
Absolutely. Welcome. Please go ahead and tell us about your project.
Okay, if you want to go next slide. So we were here just a couple weeks ago. This is for the build out of the roof deck space on the existing Market Garden Brew Pub restaurant, which is right adjacent to the historic West Side Market, just to the north there. Next slide. And just a little context for this building, when it was renovated for the brew pub back in 2010-ish. The plan was always to put a roof deck, an occupied roof deck on the building. So the middle stair there was run all the way up to the roof at that time. Structure was designed to accommodate this as well. And we are just now kind of finishing the vision out. So the main project scope here is to add the secondary stair, which leads from the kind of midpoint of the narrow area of the roof deck down into the beer garden for egress purposes. We're adding 2 single-user restrooms to the north side of the existing stair, and we are kind of adding elements at the parapets to bring those up to a code-compliant height to prevent people from falling off the roof. So if we want to go to the next slide, please. This shows a little further detail. We're doing rubber roof pavers as the walking surface throughout the roof deck. There is kind of a change in elevation that happens. So we have a boardwalk connection from the existing elevator to the higher roof deck. And we just have kind of some seating throughout. Next slide, please. This is a kind of further detail on the proposed lighting that we didn't have last time. So the main lighting being proposed is kind of like a bistro style string light. So nothing too permanent. These are being mounted on kind of vertical wood posts that form the guardrail as you overlook the beer garden on the south side of the roof deck. And then on the north side, we'll be adding additional posts so that we're not tying into the existing adjacent building there to support it. And there's also kind of a tensioned mesh shade canopy that is a perforated material so that it doesn't act like a sail up there, but does provide some relief from the sun. Next slide, please. These are some existing photos of the building. Next slide, please. And these are some of the elements that are in place currently. You can see what string light elements. The blue is that shade element. Next slide, please. And these are kind of those vertical wood posts that run along the wall that overlooks the beer garden. So you'll be adding additional string lighting. Kind of that upper left photo, there'll be additional string lighting zigzagging across that area. And next slide, please. A little further detail on the proposed restrooms. So, given that this is all exterior space, we are proposing the restrooms as really just a seasonal operation. They'll be winterized in the off season. So the enclosure is really kind of a partition type style. So we're proposing a corrugated metal siding for both the siding and the roof itself. And then kind of at that top of wall condition, it's just open to the elements. And there's a little bit of a gap at the bottom as well. Next slide, please. And then here we have some additional details on the planters that we are proposing on top of the parapets. So these kind of, sit over the existing parapet. These parapets were rebuilt in that 2010 era with new caps. We're making every possible move to protect those parapets and the caps as well. It's a wood look plank material that they are constructed out of. That's a pretty similar color match to the existing parapet. They just have been maintaining the planted materials up there really nicely. It's a pretty nice look from the streetscape down below as well. Really connects it down along 25th. Next slide, please. Or is that the last one? That might be the last. Oh no. Okay. So then here is in the beer garden. If you look at that middle image there, the proposed stair is going to go from kind of the left down towards the right, and we have an image of the stair on the next slide, kind of a shop drawing on that. So just a pretty basic black, picket railings. The idea is this is really just kind of going to fade into the background in that beer garden. This is not going to be a main point of access for the public. Everyone's supposed to come in that front door, seated by the host, directed for special events, etc. This is just providing a means of egress. And I believe that is the end of our presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we move on to our comments, we will open up the floor for public comment. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the project, either for or against? All right, not seeing any, then we will move on to the Design Review Committee, Advisory Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this project was reviewed by the Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee on July 16th. They recommended for approval of a certificate of appropriateness. They acknowledged that the stair will be kind of driven into the building through mortar joints, and that all the other materials are removable or reversible. There was some pause about the planters along the parapet, and just particularly like with drainage and how that could affect the material there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll then move on to Landmark staff recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Staff feels the interior staircase is appropriate and agrees with the committee regarding its installation. We also have concerns about the planters on the front parapet and think might be a different solution found for the railing needs. The doghouse in the rear potentially to be painted a different color to fade a little bit more into the background because it kind of pops in. You can see that from the right of way. So changes should not be visible from the right of way. Otherwise, they should be mitigating, use more compatible colors. So there are some elements that do stick up and are clearly seen. We also through this have some concerns with some excessive signage that's on the building, and the applicants probably need to return separately with a comprehensive building signage package because it appears that they may be in excess of allowable square footage, just as a note. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. We will then open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. Who'd like to start us off? All right, I will start us off here. Just for clarification, I guess I've been in the area recently and just trying to understand what is and is not installed. If It appears that everything is installed that you presented except for the restrooms, the string lights and the stair, exterior stair. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, everything that's been installed thus far is just nothing is attached to the structure, if that makes sense, except for the planters, because that was a life safety. But the flooring, is recycled rubber tiles that just click together and lay on the roof membrane, and everything else is furniture.
Okay. Good. There are some additional platforms and stairs and so forth that I believe are part of there, but understand, just wanted to make sure that I'm clear what was and what is and is not installed. So I think related to the design itself, I would reiterate related to the planters on top of the parapet. Although I do think they're maintained well, I do agree with the concern of them bearing directly on the wall and the water mitigation related to that wall. Last time you did say that it was built to support the weight, but it's the water mitigation. I think that, I personally have concerns with. And how it, the detail looks like it wraps around the stone cap. I'm assuming it's stone, but it appears from the images that we pulled off of Google from 24 that it sits on top of it. So I just personally have some concerns of that planter and would prefer it to be removed and pulled onto the interior side of the parapet so that it still can provide that protection, but be less visible and better, work with the wall itself. The stair, I don't have an issue with the design of it. I would recommend protection below the stair to meet the ADA requirements so nobody can walk into it. At least for cane protection, on the grade. What color is that stair going to be?
Black.
Black.
Okay, so I think that's, makes sense basically based on the coloration of the entire building on the exterior, but would recommend that additional protection and agree with locals' recommendations or requirement that the stair is installed through the mortar joints. I would agree with staff's comments related to the color of the doghouse, since this is one of the, fairly visible from all sides building. I think introducing a brighter color up there, I'll say it in reverse, introducing a darker color for the doghouse to downplay the addition would be my recommendation also. Other questions? The remaining portion of the project that is installed, I don't have any huge exceptions to. I would agree with staff, the railing in the back, would be better if it was painted a darker color so that it minimizes its visibility. But I don't have a strongest objection to that, as I do the planter itself. So that's my feedback. Other questions and comments from the commission? Any other questions and comments, Mr. Lozier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in alignment with all of your comments. I'll focus on the planters. I think that those do need to come off of the parapet and be a self-supported element that provides that fall protection. I'm just concerned about how that interacts with the existing stone cap and coping and the deterioration that additional water may have on that as it continues to sort of sit there. So I would ask that be changed so that it's not directly supported by the existing parapet wall. But other than that, I'm good with.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lozier. Other questions and comments from the commission? Mr. Sandberry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in agreement with the majority of your comments as well. I especially think the white posts should be painted a dark color. I think they stand out quite obviously from the street, and the doghouse as well. But other than that, I'm okay with everything that's already been said. I do think the parapet needs to be addressed. I do worry how water mitigation is addressed in those, and what that's going to do to stone in the long term. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sandberry.
Could I ask for one clarification? When you're talking about the doghouse, the main concern is with the rear elevator one, right? Not with the stair one in the front, or both of them?
I was addressing the one in the rear. Probably.
I think the front one is not really visible from the right of way, so that makes sense.
All colors should be compatible.
Yeah, I think we would require to come back, with the final paint colors for both. And I would consider painting them both, and it doesn't have to be black, but a less visible color than white or a bright color would be recommended. So it's compatible with the overall palette of the building. All right, other questions and comments from the commission? Would someone like to make a motion? Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Sandberry.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion. I'll need some assistance with some of the
I
items.
got your back.
I would make a motion to approve as present.
Sorry. Just a quick point of order. If you are going to be adding conditions and changes, it is not as presented. You're doing you are approving the issuance as a certificate of appropriateness for these changes with conditions. Because if you say as presented, then they really don't have to change anything.
I will approve with the conditions that final paint color scheme be presented to staff. The details of the parapet planter be addressed to mitigate water issues. Those details need to be presented to staff. The new stair needs cane protection detail and connected to mortar joints in the existing building. The other big items.
Just for a little clarification for the final paint colors, so revising the white posts along with the doghouse color to be more compatible with the overall building colors,
Yes.
final paint colors to be submitted to staff. And your comment about the planters to mitigate, do they removal of the planters from on top of the parapet and then final details of reinstallation submitted to staff?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I think that you've got all the conditions that I noted.
We need anything about signage?
Oh,
I think a recommendation for the comprehensive signage package be submitted as well.
Recommendation for a comprehensive signage package.
okay, excellent. So we have an approval with conditions. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Lozier. So we have a motion, we have a second. Further discussion? All right, not seeing any. Mr. Brunges, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Bergman is not back. Mr. Sandberry,
Yes.
Mr. Trosik,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion to approve with the conditions passes unanimously.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. We look forward to seeing your project completed.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. We'll then move on to our last applicant located at 2061 Garing Avenue, Starbucks signage.
Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself.
All right, thank you.
I'll be here and if there's any questions.
Excellent, thank you. We'd like to welcome, is there someone here to speak on behalf of the project? Sir, if you're speaking, you're muted.
Mr. Hales, you're muted.
Can you unmute him, Rachel?
No.
Okay. Mr. Hales, I think you're aware you're muted. You may want to try within the program and on your computer if it's not unmuting. WebEx, right? And Mr. Hales, check the button in the bottom left corner for mute in the WebEx or on your computer in the bottom right. May I suggest, Mr. Hales, that we jump ahead to the next applicant? We can we return to the certificates of appropriateness? Can we suspend the certificates of appropriateness? Oh,
Just lost them completely.
let's see if he. So we.
Hey, my name is Zach Steele. I contracted All Signs and Scott to install and permit this. I don't mind jumping in for him if that
Okay.
is allowable. Yeah.
That is allowable. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Sambury, just in case as well.
All right, then feel free to go ahead and tell us about your project.
Okay, so this is a new Starbucks project. I believe this is Scott's presentation of just the existing area. This is going to be a new Starbucks store that's located on Garing Ave. This is his just presentation showing the surroundings. If you want to keep going on the next page, we'll get into kind of the signage. So these are the 3 wall signs. Well, I'm considering that one on the top a wall sign, but these are the 3 exterior signs that Starbucks is looking to potentially be allowed to install on the exterior facade. We have made a slight change, which will be shown on the next page. These were going to be flush mounted, but because of the strict not able to install or drill into brick, we're going to pivot to Raceway. Sorry, you can keep going. I added our CAD drawings that had electrical details if anybody needed to see that. We can keep going. Here we go. So yeah, we're going to install these letters on Raceways now. We will match the Raceway color to the existing brick. We'll get a color swatch to make sure that the color of the Raceways blend in nicely with the brick to almost be basically invisible. But we are pivoting to Raceway mounted just so we avoid any issues or potential just to avoid any potential issues with drilling into the brick. We're strictly going to drill into the mortar as been requested. So this is kind of the updated rendering of the letters. They will be, the Raceway is a little bit off. It will be kind of basically dead center in the letters. But this is kind of our depiction of what our intent is. And this is just more CAD drawings if anybody had specific questions about it. This is one drive-through directional. We're proposing 2 directionals. One that says drive-through with arrows on both sides for customer indicating where customers need to enter and exit or to enter the property to get to the drive-through lane. And then there's one additional one if you want to keep going. Yeah, this is just further CAD drawings, just showing how we manufacture and some electrical information. And this will be the exit, thank you, exit only directional. I believe this site is intended to have basically just be a one-way in, one-way out. This directional is important to establish those rules and for customers to avoid going in the opposite direction of or coming into the wrong entrance for the site. So this is just showing what that will look like. As well as the menu boards and clearance bar. Clearance bar is vital. We don't want any overlarge or oversized trucks of any sort coming into the space, especially the drive-through. You do see there's going to be a wall-mounted pre-menu board and a wall-mounted order panel. So the pre-menu board is basically just showing kind of your seasonal items, kind of the hot ticket items for the moment. And then the wall-mounted order panel is going to be the actual menu board that'll have a speaker attached to it that allows you to actually order your items. And that is just further CAD drawings. And this is just showing the opposite side. Same situation, we're going to be adding a raceway just to avoid potentially drilling into any brick. We're going to strictly drill into the mortar that has been requested of us, which is totally not a problem. This is just a depiction of what the clearance bar is going to look like. It is a breakaway bar, so if a truck were to drive, if a larger truck than 8'6" did potentially drive, it wouldn't damage the clearance bar, but it would turn, and we would just have to come get somebody out to reset it. Yeah, that's just further CAD drawings. This is what the pre-menu board and menu board will look like. They are wall mounted. They will also be mounted into the mortar. You can see on the left, that is the pre-menu board that I discussed. It kind of has the hot ticket items. The wall mounted 3-panel menu board on the right is where you'll actually order your food and drinks in the drive-through. There's a speaker on the left, and that is what that is indicating, that rectangular box. This is the site plan. So basically you can kind of see where the entrance of the store is located right there at where the sign A and B are. I forgot to remove that withdrawn for later submission. We are wanting, well, Starbucks is wanting to add that wall siren that is on that roof structure. But yeah, this is the basic site plan that we are following currently. This is just further information about the site itself, and then that is basically it.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Before we get to our comments, we will open up the floor for public comment. Is there anyone present to speak either for or against the project? Not seeing any, then we will move on to the Design Review Committee, Advisory Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this was reviewed by the Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee on July 16th. They recommended the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness with the exception of the siren rooftop signage. So that was excluded from the review with the applicant's approval at that time. They did make the comment about the building signage going through mortar joints or having a raceway. That presentation showed the raceway as a result of that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then we'll move on to landmark staff recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As noted in the presentation and based upon the committee notes, that this proposal currently excludes the rooftop signage for the siren, and that will have to return and go through the process. We're not sure if this requires any variances at this time, but it might, I don't think it will. We're not really sure about that. Applicants will also need to return for full window signage and graphics, including hours of operation signage, because that fits into their overall signage needs. So when they go back for the siren, perhaps they bring all that additional signage as well. We would recommend the issuance of the certificate of appropriateness for the channel letters and the drive-through signage only. And whatever motion is made would have to meet that. You are being very specific to those items because those are really the only ones that are on the docket today. And that all of the signage would return to Ohio Historic City for further review. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then we will open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. We'd like to start us off, Mr. Dulick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair to the applicant, just for clarity purposes, is the drive-through canopy and window already existing?
You talking about the menu boards?
I'm talking about it looks like from what we could see in the drawings, there was a canopy. It's the overhang that you have the header bars for. And then the drive-through window, are those existing?
No, those are not part of what we permit. That's under the landlord. I don't know if it's the landlord or the Starbucks building permit, but no, I do not believe there was an existing drive-through window. And as far as a canopy, I am not aware of a canopy. We are not installing a canopy under what we're presenting.
Yes, those were permitted under the previous submission.
Okay.
By the landlord only. So this is a tenant permit. The landlord was a separate permit.
Okay, through the chair to the applicant, thank you for that clarification. It just wasn't clear to me on this presentation, so I appreciate that.
Excellent. Other questions and comments? Mr. Lozier?
Just for clarification, the siren 60-inch diameter siren signage, that is not being considered as part of this application? Because it was a little bit confusing as to what the comment was versus what we're seeing in the.
There was no action taken at the local committee on that siren. So that was excluded. They need to come through because I think there's some questions about the rooftop signage later on as well. That needs to go separately.
Okay.
But we want to make sure they're able to get at least some signage moving along, and it may require additional variances on its own.
Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification there. So that said, I don't have any objections to the other signage that's been sort of proposed for this. It seems pretty straightforward. I appreciate the applicant addressing the commentary about going through the mortar joints, using the raceway. I would suggest that the final color of that raceway, that color match, be reviewed by staff to sort of be accepted by staff. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think it's a pretty straightforward signage package. Thanks.
All right, excellent. I think I echo what everyone said. Just for clarification, because it's a little confusing, I agree. So we're clear on the siren that they would have to return for the siren in the future. The menu boards, those are part of what we're looking at and reviewing today.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the three elements: the wall-mounted menu boards, the channel letters that are on raceways, and the drive-through that are fairly aligned between local committee and landmark staff recommendations. Okay, so there's that. And this is just one of the things that I will just say. My own personal opinion is, as you put up the signage for the drive-through, looking at the parking lot and how that the parking and your drive-through traffic works together to make sure it's clearly marked where drive-through is versus parking lot. Because I know in other Starbucks in city installations, and there's a lot of issues with that. So that's just my personal, soapbox comment that's related to the signage that's going up, but no impact on your approval here. But overall, I'm in support of the signage the three elements that have been presented. Any other questions or comments, or would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the channel letters on raceways, the menu board signage, and the drive-through signage only, with the understanding that all other signage, including the siren signage, will come back for a separate approval in the future. Requirements are that the color of the raceway is approved by staff, and that all fastenings for all signage are inserted and anchored through the mortar joints.
Thank you. We have a motion with conditions. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Lozier. Any further discussion? Right, not seeing any. Mr. Brunges, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier.
Yes.
She's still not. Mr. Tarasik,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously with one recusal.
Excellent. Thank you. Congratulations. We look forward to seeing your project move forward.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes our, right? Oh, no, we have to return to the second applicant, that we will confirm if there's anyone in attendance. Is anyone in attendance for, case 26045 located 1812 West 58th Street window replacement? No? All right, so then, that applicant will be moved to our future agenda. That concludes our certificates of appropriateness. We will now move on to the Cleveland Landmark nominations. We have one nomination on our agenda located at 9216 Superior Avenue, the State Vocational Planning Center.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Rachel Pierce, staff with the Landmarks Commission. I have Corinne Kelly here with me. She can introduce herself.
Hi, good morning. Corinne Kelly. I represent Kismet Investments with Evan Peavy.
So Corinne and Evan brought this project to the Landmarks staff for consideration. They nominated the property. You will be the developer of the property. There is owner support for this as well, though. We do have a signed letter from them too. So just to tee this up. But today we're talking about the State Vocational Planning Center on Superior Avenue. It's in the Huff neighborhood. So in addition to Kismet bringing this to Landmarks staff for potential landmarking, it's also going through the National Register process as well. So they're working with Margaret Land with Cleveland Restoration Society on that as well. She did a preliminary questionnaire for this, and the SHPO determined that it's eligible under criteria A for its use as a former vocational planning center for the state and its association with the civil rights movement as well, as part of civil unrest during the mid-20th century as well. So we'll get into that. So I just wanted to provide some context of where this is at. This is in the Huff neighborhood on Superior Avenue, right at the intersection with Ansel Road. So it has a trapezoidal parcel that you can see, especially in the image on the right. It's just west of Rockefeller Park in the Cleveland Cultural Gardens. There are two National Register properties nearby, the Rockefeller Park Superior Avenue Bridge and Notre Dame Academy. Just west of the site is a currently vacant parcel, but previously had a two-story commercial building that's since been demolished. And then there's a two-family home just to the south as well. So you can see the exterior is clad in a red brick. There's some really intricate terracotta detailing, details on the primary facades that create that trapezoidal shape. The original fenestration pattern of the building is relatively unchanged, although like windows and doors have been modified or, covered by the panels that you see there today. But it still retains a high level of integrity. The secondary elevations are largely unornamented. You can see that a lot of the window openings have been infilled on that rear side there, but largely not visible from the street. The image on the right is showing that kind of shared wall where the preceding two-story commercial building would have been. That building was unassociated with this one, though. So these images were sent to us by Margaret Land, showing just the general interior conditions of the property. So you can see large open spaces, kind of, unornamented ceilings, but this was an auto dealership originally, as we'll get into. So it kind of fits with the context of when it was built and what it was used for. There's some finishes in there that were added later, but they're removable. So prior to the building that we're, looking to nominate, before that was built, there were several like small scale commercial buildings on this site, dating back to around the turn of the century, 1890s, early 1900s. So there was like a grocer on this site, the Superior Ansel Auto Supply, storefront was there, as well as an auto shop that came a couple years later. So very auto-centric even before the building that we're looking at today was there, which is interesting. So there's an ad here on the right for White Star Gasoline. It calls out the Superior Ansel Auto Supply building that was there actually at that time. There potentially was a Lisey Brewing Company tied house on this site as well, because the parcels were owned by Lisey, which they own several parcels, as we'll get into, which is very interesting. Let's see. So we did pull the original permits for this, and Pontiac Improvement Company, a real estate firm, purchased all of those buildings that we saw on the preceding map. They purchased those in 1922, 1923 from Lisey Brewing Company. And Pontiac Improvement Company was created out of Lisey Brewing Company, actually. So Lisey wanted to get rid of a lot of these parcels that they had. They had over 300 parcels throughout the city of Cleveland. And so they ended up creating a real estate company outside of that called Pontiac Improvement Company. So the image on the right is a screenshot talking about how Pontiac Improvement Company was taking over parcels from Lisey Brewing Company. So as I mentioned, Pontiac Improvement, they ended up purchasing the lots from Lisey Brewing Company, or they were like merged somehow during that time, and then pulled the permit in 1923 to build the extant building that we're talking about today. So Pontiac Improvement Company hired William Stanley Ferguson. You may have heard of him. He's a pretty well-known Cleveland architect. He primarily specialized in commercial buildings, though. So if you're familiar with Brandt Motor Car Company on Coit Road, Cleveland Motor Sales Company building on Prospect Avenue, and then even one of our already designated landmarks, the Craig Motor Company, is one of his buildings that he designed. He also designed the Liquid Carbonic Corporation building on 58th Street, but that's since been demolished, and it was on the National Register as well, which is unfortunate. So the plat map on the left is showing you the extant building, that trapezoidal shape. The Sanborn map in the middle shows the layout when this was an auto sales building, which we'll get into all the uses with that. And then the image on the right is showing that preceding two-story building adjacent to it that's since been demolished as well. So Pontiac Improvement Company built this property. The original tenant was the LL Carlozzi Company. It was a Ford dealer. So Carlozzi Company rented out the space essentially, and they were only there for a couple years. Then Hertz Buick Company moved into the building, and then Lakeshore Motors, which was another Ford dealer, moved in there. By 1936, Chrysler Porous Inc. moved into the building. You can see it in the ad on the right. There is an image at the top showing this building. It's a little bit hard to see though. But they were in this building for several decades. And they didn't move out until around like 1957. That's because one of the founders, Mr. Porous, passed away. And then within 6 months, the building was then transferred and it was used by Spar Marine Inc. I think something with boating in that regard. So in talking with Margaret Land, we did have some back and forth about kind of the history of this building. You know, it's pretty interesting, the auto history with this, but we found that it's actually more significant because of the State Vocational Planning Center that moved in the 1960s. So I'll kind of get into that history. So by 1966, it was used as a state vocational planning center, and it was considered one of the first of its kind in the nation, supposedly, according to newspaper records. I'm not sure if that's actually true. It at least was one of the first in the state. And why it was unique is because the state sought job seekers themselves. So they weren't saying, hey, come to us and we'll get you a job. They were actively looking at unemployment records and trying to find people jobs. So it was hailed as something unique at the time by the Ohio Bureau of Unemployment Compensation, which was later the Ohio State Employment Service as well. So this center was, used for the Huff and Glenville neighborhoods primarily. And people 16 years and older could go through these services to get jobs, which I thought was a little bit interesting that they were looking at even younger crowds too. So you can see in the newspaper articles up here that Governor Rhodes dedicated the building in August 1966. It was a huge thing for the neighborhood, and people were really excited about it, at least according to the newspaper articles that I looked at. So the day after the center opened, it was firebombed. So that destroyed an office on the first floor. And then even the next year, it was attacked 2 more times. And I believe it was likely targeted due to its operation by a state entity, because during this time, there were a lot of racial tensions in the United States from what I was researching and talking with Margaret Land about. And the first bombing that is referenced to in the article on the left, that was happening soon after Huff Uprising that happened in July of 1966, which made national news and led to the mayor calling in the National Guard. And there's a really deep, rich history about that that I really won't get into today, but it just kind of talks about this really pivotal time here in Cleveland and the Huff neighborhood itself. And as a result of that, there were talks about prohibiting the manufacturing of firebombs that was later passed after the fact. So the center was quickly repaired in order to keep serving people in 1966 and 1967 after the fire bombings occurred. And it focused on neighborhood outreach. They were very conscious, at least in these articles, about reaching out to the Huff neighborhood and residents in that neighborhood. The article on the left talks about 2 gentlemen who lived in the neighborhood who also worked at the vocational center too, and trying to ease some tensions in the neighborhood, either tied to race or unemployment as well, which is a whole other thing. In doing this research, I found out a little bit more about some acts that were passed during this time to increase employment equality throughout the United States and Ohio itself too. So for 1967, it was reported that 1,536 Clevelanders were placed in jobs or training programs as a result of the State Vocational Planning Center. Then in 1967, March 1967, so 1 year after this opened, they opened the Opportunities Industrialization Center on the 2nd floor. So this was run by local ministers, and they taught English, math, history, consumer education, and then later creative writing and even sculpture, which is interesting. This closed in 1976, and then the Plus Club, which was dedicated to combating youth crime, opened, and then they closed in 1982. So on the first floor was mostly the State Vocational Planning Center itself, and then they had kind of other programs on the second floor too. So in 1982, this center actually closed. They were considered one of the busiest offices in the state, but the state ended up closing over 37 of these offices throughout. So I'm not really sure as to why, other than they've cited federal funding, but this center closed. And then it was subsequently used as a church by the Light of Liberty congregation, who was the most recent owner. So overall, we're nominating this property due to its significance as a vocational center. This is not something that we have seen in any of our other landmarks. And there, you know, it is hailed as one of the first of the nations. It at least is one of the first in the state that had this type of model where you know, job seekers were sought by the state. And then also its connection to other, you know, civil rights, you know, movements, and telling the story of the Huff neighborhood with that as well, and why this center was brought into the area. And so I'll leave it to Carl to talk about the criteria.
Applicant has additional comments.
Anything else you'd like to add before?
No, I mean, excellent presentation, really. So, very impressed at all the work you put together. And yeah, I mean, we're looking to redevelop it for the neighborhood, 21,000 square foot building. You know, we've gotten support from Councilwoman House Jones. She's been wonderful on the project, as well as Famicos. So upstairs will be residential, downstairs will be mixed use. We love the idea of the vocational history, and if there's a way that we can bring that back and tie that in. You know, we've talked to Magnet School. We have some contacts at CASE. We've talked to the Cleveland Foundation. So we're hoping, you know, that there's something, you know, we can do with the community there that would make sense as well. And big thanks to you and also Margaret Land for putting this forward for the National Preservation.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Brunges?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Landmark staff has been involved with this process a very long time, since the initial reach out. We have reviewed it on the criteria, and we have found that it meets our criteria for nomination. Being that it's eligible for the National Register actually raises it up quite a bit. So it's a great thing. You'll be pursuing historic tax credits as a part of all this, probably, or
State and federal tax credits, yep.
so staff would support the nomination. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Then we will open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. Questions and comments? Mr. Dooley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a great nomination. I mean, it's got everything, right? And so I just want to commend everybody who's been involved. We understand, I think all of us, how arduous that process is. And, you know, given that we're once again in a position of reconsidering the government's role in job placements and how changes in technology and industry and economics affect who works how, where, and why, and that we're going to have to address it again. I didn't say AI, but that's what I meant. And I think there's the alignment of opportunities here with that potential continuing that vocational history. That would just be the icing on the cake. So I really wish everybody well with that, but I really support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dulick. Other questions and comments? Lozier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just want to commend the hard work that went into this application. Very, very, very thorough history, and it's something worth preserving and celebrating moving forward. So thank you again for everyone that's been involved for such a long period of time. Presentation was fantastic, so thank you.
Yeah, I would just second that. I'm really grateful to the Landmarks office and Rachel for putting this together and their support. You've done just a fantastic job. So it's very noted.
That's a great addition also. Thank you, Mr. Lozier, and thank you for that addition. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just want to, also commend, the history on this building. So I do support this project as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gray. Hearing fairly consistent support for the project, would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Lozier?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to support to nominate the State Vocational Planning Center at 9216 Superior Avenue for Cleveland Landmark.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I second the motion.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Mr. Brunges, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Mr. Stanberry,
Yes.
Mr. Trosik,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion to nominate passes unanimously.
Excellent. Congratulations. We look forward to seeing you move to the next phase.
Can you tell me what happens as the next phase after this from the local designation perspective?
Yes, we get all of our signatures from you, from the council member, and then we will draft the legislation and that needs to be introduced and there'll be phases and we will reach out to you offline and move that all forward. There's 3 phases basically. It's introduction, planning commission, council committee, and then passage.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you or the project progress and move forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So that concludes our local Cleveland landmark nominations. Whew. We have, we'll now move on to the National Register of Historic Place nominations of the Wellman Seaver Morgan Company.
I'll let Rachel. Oh. Okay. Dramatic pause. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is one of our more recent local landmark designations, which occurred back in February. The Wellman Seaver Morgan Engineering Company building is significant under invention and industry, representing the industrial innovation of the late 19th and early to mid 20th century in Cleveland. The company had an international reputation for engineering some of the largest material handling projects ever constructed. And Rachel, if you just want to go through slowly. The company designed and constructed entire steel plants as well as manufactured equipment for steel making throughout the world. The Hewlett Unloader, an exclusive development of Wellman, entirely revolutionized the transportation of the ore industry and was invented by Vice President George H. Hewlett. The Wellman Welding Department was one of the first to use and develop welding fabrication for huge machinery as one of the largest and most progressive companies of its kind in the country. Wellman Seaver Morgan was a leader in hydraulic turbines as well. Samuel T. Wellman was an American steel industry pioneer, industrialist, and prolific inventor. He was granted nearly 100 patents, including the Wellman hydraulic crane, the open hearth charging machine, the rolling mill manipulator, and the electromagnet for lifting iron and steel. This property is part of the city's Midline project and was recently announced that it will be used as a plant to manufacture modular homes for MMY US. The Wellman Seaver Morgan Company was also recently awarded state historic tax credits in the latest round and is going now for the federal designation, which would open it up to additional funding sources, and staff would recommend support for the National Register nomination or designation. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Then we will open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. I'll start us off. Overall, I'm continue to be in support of this nomination. Everything that you stated just does markets. It identifies its mark in the history of Cleveland, and if not the US. So I'm in full support of it and excited to see a new business come into a new building or an existing building in the area. Mr. Stanberry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in full support as well. I was under the impression it was already listed, so I'm glad to see it listed now.
It's locally, yes.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Stanberry.
It's on its way to be listed. Yes.
It's waitlisted. It was being listed. Other questions and comments? Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having had the honor of nominating this as the local landmark, it's just really exciting that we're taking the next step that will open up federal money as well. Just the fact that it's being preserved, our industrial heritage is being preserved for industrial purposes to meet modern needs for housing, I think makes it even better. And just, I think, you know, remembering Cleveland is a place where the kind of innovation brought people from all over the world to here, both as the people who did the actual work inside this building, but also the customers of this very innovative engineering company. I think it's a fabulous story. And so fully support the nomination for the National Register, and, you know, that one of my fellow commissioners takes the opportunity to have that honor. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Julik. Hearing fairly consistent support, would someone like to make a motion?
Hearing none. Madam Chair, fellow commissioners, I would like to nominate the Wellman Seaver Morgan Company Cleveland Works at 7,000 Central Avenue for the National Register of Historic Places.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Lozier. Any further discussion? Great, not seeing any. Mr. Brunges, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Gulick.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray.
Yes.
Mr. Lozier.
Yes.
Director Mersman.
Yes.
Mr. Stanberry.
Yes.
Mr. Tarasik.
Yes.
Dr. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. All right, then that concludes our National Register of Historic Place nominations. We'll move on to Design Review Advisory Committee appointments. We have one recommendation. Mr. Brunges, would you like to tell us about our?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our applicant is online, it appears, so I'm glad, and hopefully Ms. Sharice Brown Gray will be able to talk about herself a little bit. Mr. Musson interviewed her and felt that she would be a good fit, hence why she is being, her resume was sent out to everybody, and I hope everybody had a chance to review that. The commission in the past has asked for more neighborhood representation, and given her time in the area and she adds a local perspective, that would be complement to the professional architectural views on the committee. So staff supports the nomination, and hopefully she can talk about herself a little bit.
Excellent. Welcome, Ms. Brown Gray. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good morning. Sure. Can you hear me? Hi. Good morning. I spoke with Mr. Munson maybe a week or two ago, and he said that that he would add my name to the agenda. I did not have to speak, but I am very interested in being a part of the community. I am excited about the city that I live in, and I have always had kind of an affinity for history and geography and neighborhood. And that is with my resume. I graduated from environmental education, where I first began to learn about the city and the way that buildings here in the city and the history about the neighborhood. I do work, given the opportunity to work for that, we focus on this way now called field government. We were given that opportunity to the next year that I worked on and other architectural people. I think we're still here, but over the last 4 years, have always been very interested and active within different things in the community. And my contribution here with the history neighborhood residents, and the people in terms of all of the school residents. I just feel like this would be a perfect fit, and it's very interesting to me and something I can add to this.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brown Gray. You were a little hard to hear, but overall, we could hear your excitement for being nominated for the committee. In reviewing your resume and your cover letter, it's great to see people in the community, especially people like involved in Look Up Cleveland and other community programs to really take part in the committee. So I am in support of the nomination. Other questions and comments from the commission?
I would just thank Ms. Brown Gray for her willingness to volunteer on these committees and help inform and guide the commission in decision making. So we really appreciate your time and investment in the neighborhood and the city's process.
Thank you, Director Merschman. Any other questions or comments? Or would someone like to make a motion for nomination? No.
Appointment.
Appointment. Sorry, appointment.
I move to appoint Ms. Sharice Brown Gray to the Greater Downtown Historic Design Review Advisory Committee.
All right, thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
All right, we have a motion, second. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Mr. Brunges, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray.
Yes.
Mr. Lozier.
Yes.
Director Mersman.
Yes.
Mr. Sandberry.
Yes.
Mr. Tarasik.
Yes.
Dr. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion to appoint passes unanimously.
All right, congratulations and welcome to the Design Review Committee.
Thank you so much. Really excited.
Excellent. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to our administrative reports.
Dan and Jessica are in Minneapolis right now at a convention, so hence why we're here. Seamless, right? Right now, there's no other convention. Heritage Ohio is happening at the end of September, beginning of October in Cincinnati. So if you are looking at possibly attending that, that's out there. Other than that, I've got nothing.
All right, excellent. Well, then we will adjourn for the day and we'll see everyone again on August 13th. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.